What's up, everybody? Welcome. I'm excited to do this one. This is going to be really cool. So those of you saw one of the last videos that I did was talking about, better ways to get transient, get beats to really punch through, and that loudness isn't always the answer. This video is the direct kind of antithesis of that. What happens if you do need to get super loud? Let's just pretend that last mix that I did that we had open, the Scrotum of Destiny, let's pretend that the client came back and said, it's just not loud enough. We need that bad boy just screaming hot. What do you do in that scenario? And this is it. We're going to dig in and just kind of see how we can get there. So there's a number of different ways to get there. There's the master plan plugin, the God particle. There's all these kind of top-down approaches to just squishing the mix bus in order to get things loud and proud. And yeah, we could do any one of those things, and that would work really well too. We'll try a couple of the easy route things, and we'll just try some fun creative ways to get there. This is what we have to begin with. And when we're looking at our integrated LUFS, loudness, -13, we can certainly do better than that. So, the first things first, let's see, we're hitting gold clip, and we have a Pro L2 and ozone, which has a little bit of imaging that isn't even doing anything. We'll turn that off. And the maximizer doing a little bit more. So just a clipper and a couple limiters. The first thing is can we just hit that stuff harder? How loud can we get by just hitting the chain harder? So let's just literally put a trim into those plugins and see how far this chain will allow us to go without even getting more clever than that. We're hearing the clipping there. That sounds a lot like clipping the Laveries. So how loud are we now? Loud, but it's breaking up too much, in my opinion. It's that ain't it. So we got to find some other ways, y'all. How do we do it? What do we do? And really, it comes down to this. If you sent a static white noise signal generator, okay. If we sent a very balanced static mix into a master chain, there's really just no limit to how loud it can get if it's super balanced. And what I mean by that is if you send all of the frequencies at the same time, pink noise, into the mix bus, if we go all the way up to where we're beginning to hear audible distortion, let's see, how loud is that? -3. -3 before we start to get distortion. So there's nothing transient. It's static information. It's just signal there, right? If I mute the one transient element of this song, which is the kicks, we got a little bit of transient with the 808 and a little bit with the rims, but it's not low energy transient, so it's not going to matter. I'm guessing we'd be able to get this mix up to, we could put 10 of these trims in front of each other. Going on -4. But as soon as we bring the kick in, drives everything into distortion, right? Let's take these trims off. Let's bring our kick back. So for me, when I get the note that I need to turn up the mix and that everything needs to be louder, generally it's always the kick is the first thing to go, right? So you've got a variety of different things you can try. We can keep the kick at the same level, and we can put an EQ before we hit all this chain, right? We could do a low cut and a low shelf. And then from there, okay, so that's one option. Let's see how loud we're getting now. Not very loud. It's still knocking, but it's bright. If you're going to do that, I think, if you're going to try to get loud like that, the concentrated balance effort would be to cut some top. That way, if you're getting loud and it's not just aggressive and bright, you can kind of bring some warmth back in. Because you've taken low end away, but if you take top end away, it'll kind of balance the scales. That's a way to do it. That's kind of cool. Another way is just like, let's get our bus dialed in as loud. Let's keep that there. Let's dial everything in as much. It's really distorted. So then you think, well, is this a combination of working our master bus and dialing that in and also rebalancing the mix? And usually, like, yeah, we gotta go in and probably turn the kick down physically. And we'll back this down too now. You think, man, well, it's just hitting maybe too much information is hitting the clipper. Maybe we need to be just compressing a little bit before the clipper with like a faster attack kind of a thing. Or maybe we need to be clipping the kick so it's a rounder signal, so it's going to hit the clipper with less transient, so it's not going to make everything else clip so hard, right? So, something, let's take our kick. Maybe we want to use orange clip here. That's working. That's kind of cool. That could totally do it. I'm obviously going a little bit too far. I want to try something like, I've been on this tape kick. This isn't directly applicable to what you guys can do at home, unless you use like real tape saturation. You could do something like that. Even just right there. Because if I match our output of peaks, you could even do some sort of fast compression before the tape, like really. We're getting into the territory of kind of what I did on the first video to combat kicks that just are parked into plays and they don't exactly push very much. But when you're trying to get loud, like, you're not going to be able to have that transient information. Let's turn our camera over here. Let's get over into the tape zone. Woo. So, then we start clipping, we're kind of losing what it's intended to do. Could go low speed, less top end if we wanted. Honestly, that's kind of fun. I'm kind of enjoying that. So I'm going to just go in and commit that exact section, edit selection, make an active. Done. Let's check that out. Let's move back into our zone of destiny here. There we are. Hello. Hello again. We got to zoom in, move this shit back onto the one. I think the just turn on, and these are things that happen. Sometimes we just turn on sample delay. Let's go like 10 samples, and then I'll just push these around a little bit. Hope that it's consistent from note to note. It is, thank God. Sometimes there's times where you have to actually take every single 808 hit and nudge it, and then every note responds differently, has kind of a different phase response that interacts differently with the kick. So some kicks sound like they're flamming with the 808. The other part of this conversation is that the 808's a little bit transient too, and we might want to just soften that. Something like R comp. R comp. Or we could do something like, we're just gonna try things. We gotta try some different stuff to see what's gonna like respond to the behavior of what we're trying to build. Soothe, soothe, soothe. We're gonna key in. I keep bus 11 open for this exact scenario, which I didn't do in this exact scenario. Bus 13, bus over from the kick. Turn on the side chain, low end. Because one way it smacks harder, but that extra smack also means it's more RMS level going into our thing, into our master bus. So let's just loop this whole thing again. Let's get back to the task at hand. Not really hitting any of our stuff very hard right now. Let's get another trim after that. I want to just trim into this. At this point, the kick is a little lower than the 808. Let's bring the 808 level down. We lost a lot of transient energy with that kick, unfortunately. And we can try to bring some of that back, but we're just going to be introducing distortion at the master chain. So, a softer kick with this type of loudness is unfortunately kind of what we're stuck with. But we're on the mission to get loud, so let's get loud. But let's see if we can get a little transient kind of re-injected in there. And we might put some transient shaping in after a couple of the stages of limiting on the master to sort of bring some of that fit back in. Because it's not working going into this limiting chain. It's just not. But let's put some in maybe after the second limiter. Let's do like a sculptor. What's that called? Neutron 4 sculptor. And they've got this like punch mode that's kind of cool for this. Percussion. All purpose. Add punch. That's the one. like the most subtle thing of all time, but we could go really narrow with how it's doing it too. You know, let's go into this Pro L2. So we're beginning to just really work our way into all this. So kind of a next level trick, if you can't just use a transient designer or a compressor on the kick to like get it to hit harder, you could just try to manipulate the sound and trick people into thinking they're hearing punch when really they're just hearing mid-range of the knock, right? So we could use something like split EQ to increase the transient just in the mid-range of the kick. And actually, I want a lighter decay. I'm going to switch to my NS10 so I can really get a grasp on what's going on. You know, there's some kind of nasty high-end tape shit that's happening. I'm hearing it's like high frequency. Just going to pull the transient out of the top. Might even go in and like decrackle that thing. Just overall decrackle. You know, you get down these rabbit holes and you realize, like, man, I've been hearing this thing for too long. There's a chance that this just sucks. So we got to check back and like see the kick that we had. Much more transient with the other kick. At this point, it's like the bus that's kind of ruined. No matter what kick we use, there's just too much loudness on this bus. How loud are we? You know, too damn loud. That's how loud. So, you know, you could even go in now with that low shelf, and we could reduce it even further. And there we're out of the crunch zone and we're back into healthy land. Now we're entering a land where like the distortion, there's so much distortion going on that the harmonics are really determining the sound of this record. And they're playing a role as like a really significant kind of leading role character in this. So it's really, it's cool. You know, that sub 808 note is not just a single note anymore. It has a multitude of different overtones, and it's getting cool, and it has character, and a lot of people are after a sound that's similar to that. So we're on the way. We're not quite there. There's going to be ways to like just get this to tighten up and feel really punchy and actually really clean at this volume, and then we're gonna go a little louder than that, but we gotta keep digging. We just gotta keep digging. Negative 10.4, negative 4.3. I need more plugins here, so I'm going to get rid of the listen to plugin. We're gonna get rid of the PAZ analyze. I want to look at it first. What's going on with the PAZ analyze? Still a lot of low end, all things considered. That's still a lot of low end. let's throw in OTT, because sometimes that can be a really fun way, like 5 to 20%, somewhere in there can just be really... Yeah, immediately it just starts to sound like Ableton. I mean, in a weird way, that's like such a fun, cool sound. Yeah, let's blend that in. I don't like what the high end was doing, so I got rid of that, but... All the attitude is that mid. Listen to what happens. You know, and at this stage now we're also in the business of like just trying to bring up some energy and get some other background shit happening. I'm gonna try God Particle, like just the amount knob. I turned the limiter off. I don't need any of that. But tell if I like the OTT, so let's just split the difference on it. Definitely, I liked it better without that shit going on. The other thing I've been really digging is just using the Unfair Child as a way of just locking in the levels and just controlling the transient spikes before it hits this chain of master bus plugins. Like it's hitting Gold Clip, Pro L2, Neutron, and then Ozone. And so let's tame some of the transient. Because always just compressing with this thing a little bit just adds some, it just hammers on the sound a little bit. It like listen to that. I'm going to go back to 0 and then I'll turn up to 7 and it just freaking goes. Try to push the output. All right. The other thing we didn't really do yet is sort of high pass filter this 808 just to see if we can get a little more. Yeah, it's getting a little honky-dory when we get to the... We are using Soothe for a little side chainy action. I want to bring another Soothe in that's just going to do this Jason low end thing that I'm really liking. It just evens out the low ends of the 808. split EQ so that it'll only take away the tonal, the decay of that, but it won't take that energy out of the kicks. Get this to -3. We're gonna get it sounding sick at -3. So at this point too, we could be like bringing in something like Spectre, or like we can really begin to like shape the mix and push the faders around and really kind of find where everything's gonna work best at this volume now. Yeah, and sometimes we have to do this, you guys. That's maybe I'll wrap it up with the monologue about this, but yeah. The relationship of the rim to the kick feels quiet to me because it's hitting softer. There's not as much transient, but also the rim is really loud. So bringing the rim down will kind of force me by nature to turn up the song until the kick is hitting my chest right. And then the rim, it'll all feel good. So let's try this. Let's position it. Kick is the lead. Kick is our lead vibe. So I'm turning the 808 down. I'm going to turn everything else around down to where the kick is driving the song. And then I'm turning my speaker volume up. So I'm like bumping like I'm in the car. The kick is knocking. I'm getting the kick where I want it. Now we're a little loud. We're a little quiet again. We're getting back to -6. That 8. So that's an opportunity to bring that bus back up. I'm in a competition with myself to make this as freaking loud as possible. -4.3. Okay, that's cool. Let's get rid of. Yeah, well, the 2 trim plugins is kind of killing me. So I want to do something with in Ozone, we're going to add the exciter before the imager. We're going to image first. Not a lot of wide stuff going on in this, to be totally honest, but and then I'm just gonna break up some of these. Okay, we got top, cool. Let's pick a high mid band now. That's fun. Let's get like just a mid range. And that's really the one. We're gonna make it seem like the kick is hitting harder than it is by giving it some extra hair. 4.3 with that thing. Let's get rid of that. Let's just go in 4.3 hotter, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4-ish. Cleared up a space. Inflate. Let's inflate, baby. We're just trying stuff. We're going crazy today. So badly. Can we do it? If I compress harder, can I do it? If I compress faster, I bet we can do it. But it's all in the mids, right? So we're gonna add one more thing here. Equalizer. This equalizer before the limiter, we're gonna push 1K. Watch it. We're gonna watch this loudness curve go from -4 up to -3. Dude, if nothing else, experimenting with this stuff and just having fun, like this is a way, like this is a chain that's like I would use on like a parallel 808 and kick 100% because it's just fun. And sometimes when you're trying to recreate the vibe of the loud mix, but you're not maybe going to go as loud as their mix was, but you're missing all that distortion and just sauce that pooled together. Sometimes this is the way. Then you just print this pass and just blend it in parallel with your mix and you get some of that re-injected vibe in there. And then a lot of people will be asking, you know, this might be one that comes into the comments like, well, what do you do with a vocal? Because a vocal is going to fall apart with this type of processing, right? And it's true. So I would, in that scenario, I would send everything to a parallel bus. And it looks like, yeah, we got this thing called mix bus. I would put all the plugins that are on the master now, I would put those on a thing called beat. And I would let that handle the beat. And then I would have the vocals go straight to its own bus or straight to the output with none of this, and just have the level kind of be matched and nice. You might have to compromise a little bit on the level, but that's how you would handle that. Keep the vocals clean, away from this stuff. That's crazy. That's a crazy sound. That thing is not frank. I wish there was an easier way to adjust the key of this. That we're so close, man. Yeah, you know, this just has to happen sometimes. We all get that. You know, I can't speak like, no, I never have to go loud. I'm always mixing quietly, and it's just flat out like, no, it just doesn't work that way. You lose the gig a lot of the time, and you got to know how to get up there and get loud and do it and add some vibe and add some flavor. And a lot of the time, songs don't even come to life until you hit the bus really hard and you get it going. So it's really important, and it can be exceptionally cool. And for me, I'm missing a lot of the knock of what we had from the clean mix, you know, the -13 mix. But you know, we traded our transient for character, and we got a lot of distortion and anger and kind of vibe out of this track that just wasn't there before. So that's really exciting too. And it's just art too. There's no right or wrong. It's just you know, you're going to develop your tool set of what works for you and what enables you to help deliver clients what they are looking for with their vision, and help bring that to life. And yeah, you'll do great. So yeah, this is great, man. This was fun. This was a lot of good times. So thanks for hanging. See you guys soon, man. Peace.